Okay, hello everybody. I hope that you're also well. I do apologize for this mess up, but we will answer the questions here. Actually, there wasn't any real questions during the webinar that I could answer them, but I will. I mean, I already answered a few of them on the comments because most of them were just about future features and also something about licensing. I did write some questions down. Actually, only two of them. First one is about analog logs, and I will show you now the question that was can you show the highest temperature of specific day or just the highest temperature of the specific day in the whole year. Actually, that's not possible, but we have all the values that are possible are written here. If you go under analog log and click values, you can see which kind of calculations we are doing, and this is only the values that you can use in your configuration. So for your case it would be day maximum, but this is only for the current day. It shows the maximum value of the current day, and we have week maximum and also month maximum. So these are the three maximum values that you can use to show in the visualization. Another question that was regarding the analog log was this scaling, the K and N factor. Actually, if you enable the scaling, by default it's of course disabled, but the K factor means that with this factor you're multiplying your input value. So for example, if your input value would be 10 and our K factor would be 2, then the output value that would be written in the graph would be 20, because the input value would be multiplied with K factor. We can do a quick example. I'll show you. So this would be our input value. In our case, now 5. I will disable this limit database writes, so we will immediately see the result here in our database. And I will select the input value to our integer, and I will enable the scaling. And now when I will change this 6, let's say, we can already see that now our analog log is collecting the data from input value, multiplying with our K factor, and this is the end result. So if I put this to 10, then the output value would be 20. And this is how you can scale the data. Let's say the real world example would be if you have wind speed measurement in meters per second, then you would just put here scale to kilometers per hour, and you would put here the value in to scale the data from meters per hour to kilometers per hour, meters per second to kilometers per hour. The N factor is not multiplying, but it's adding to the input value. So increasing or decreasing input value by the factor that's written here. So if we would put here 10. Then in this case, because our input value is now 10, and if we change it to 20, we would see that our our output value is now 50. That's because 20 multiplied by 2 is 40, and plus 10 it's 50. You can also do here minus 10, and then it would be subtracted from the input value. So we put this back to 10. Now we would have 10 also here, because 10 multiplied by 2 is 20, minus 10 is 10. Okay. Cyclical reference detected. That was the next question, that you sometimes get error in the log cyclical reference detected. That means that you're doing something wrong with the BOS tasks. Let's say that we would have 2 gates, and there would be, that's the easiest way to show you, we would have one boolean, okay, and I would link this input value of boolean to gates input values, and now I would also want to, by accidentally of course, link gate value. So I would link gate value to the input value, gate output value to the input value, and I would create a loop, and this loop would cause configuration to crash, but we are doing check if you are referring to the same value, and here you get an error, cyclical reference detected. So that just, it means that you done something wrong in the configurator, and that you now this will not, this second value will not be encountered in the result, because it will be ignored. Only the first one will work. That's why you sometimes get cyclical reference detected. Okay, I can see one question about how I can do a nightlight for kids that dims the light down over a certain period of time until it's completely off. Well, you could create, let's say, a program task. Let's create a nightlight. Let's say that we have a dimmable light, so this is our light. And we would just create a program task. And in this program task, we would say, okay, set the night light. Okay, at first we want to set it at 100%, right? And after that, let's say that would be our start program, and then we will create a loop or decrease program, and here we would say, okay, set. Sorry for that, I lose the connection for a bit, but we are back now. let me just repeat the last step. So what we created, we chose the set value for the light, then we chose the calculation. Let me do it again here so you will be able to see it. So we went under calculation, we selected the input value light, and we decreased it by 1. Okay, so we set the value to the calculation 1 less than the value than it was before. And we will do this in cycles. So here we can set a delay now, or we can just say restart and add a delay here. Let's say after 1 minute, each minute the value will be decreased by 1. And here in start program we would create another run function where we would start the decrease value program. So this will be our program for this. And here we will just put another check. If our light equals 0, then just exit the program. That's it. And now we can create a frame. Sorry. Sorry for that. We'll create a new panel. Okay. So it seems that I'm losing connection to our test server. But in any case, let's do it here. So we would create a panel where we would just place a start program with function run, and this would be our start nightlight. And we can of course put some icon to it. Play. And for the demonstration purpose, I will change this decrease time to a few seconds, so we won't be here too long to see the decreasing of the value. Oh, it's froze again. I'm really sorry, but it seems that my internet connection has something to do with this, because I'm working remotely. Okay. Sorry, I'll have to cancel this. Let's try one more time. Okay. So let's set this to 1 second. And now when we will see when we will press, now we have value of the light is 0. And when we will press run function for start, it will go to 100, and then it will start decreasing the value of the light by 1 in this program. As you can see here, now the program is running and it's decreasing each second. The light is decreased by 1. Okay. So there was a question again about analog lock. Yeah, if you disable the limit database rights here, that means that every time the value will change, or it will be sent to let's say KNX group address, it will be written in the analog log. But you must be careful with this, because in this way you can fill the database quite fast, and the size of the file will be really large, and this can also bring problems to the stability of the BOS if you have too much logging set, because usually for temperatures and similar things that you're logging, it's really enough to log it every I don't know 5 minutes, because it doesn't change that rapidly. Okay, is there any other question maybe? I will wait a couple of more minutes for you to write down any other questions if you have. Okay, I will answer Andre Max for this question because he said that he's missing OR command in the program task. There is other ways to do this. Let's say that you want to turn on light C, A, B, B, C. You have 3 lights, so let's say light A, light B, and light C. And now you want to turn light C on whenever A and B are turned on, right? One way that you can do it is with our gates. So here you would just put light A, light B, and then for the output value you would say C. So that means that when A light will be turned on and B light will be turned on, then also the C light will be turned on. So let's try. You can turn on light A, B and C are now still on, off. We turn on B and you see that also the C is now turned on. If we turn the B off, also the C will turn off. That's one way of doing it, or we could do it also with program task. Here we would put 2 triggers. One would be light A whenever this changes, and also light B whenever it changes. You can check the values. So first we will say if light A equals true, and if light B equals true, then set light C also on. Or otherwise you could just turn the light off. And here you can just then put exit. So in this case, whenever the light A and B would turn on or off, this program would run and we would check if light A is turned on and light B is turned on. Then we would also turn light C on, and then we would exit the program. Otherwise, we would turn the light C off. Let me see. I mean, you can also, you said that it's too complicated, but you can mix. Let's say you have some program task that you're, complex program task that you're doing, and you can mix your gates and programs. So here you can say, okay, this is my light A, and this is my light B, and now we can name this light A and B. Let's say this is OR function. So this would be our OR. And then you can use this in here. So you can say if this or equals true, then do something, or if it's false, then do something. So this is basically the same thing. It's just not included here in the program task, but you need to create additional task, but then you can use that task in the main program. So you can always combine different programs in the program task itself. So you can also include timers, you can include thermostat, you can include whatever program that you need in order to make a complete logic with the program task. And there was another question. I have set a daylight value when a shade is supposed to go up. Can you limit this to once per day so it does not happen more than once a day? Well, I don't completely understand the question, but you can limit it like this. So you can create again a analog threshold. You can say here single threshold, that's okay. So the threshold value would be 200 lux, and you can also put the hysteresis in, so it would be, let's say, 20. And now your input value would be brightness. And now you can create a program task, and for a trigger you would select analog threshold value. Okay, so whenever this equals true, you do something. So you said that you want to leave the shades up. So let's say you have your shades here, and let's say now you're gonna use them here and say set value shades 0. And this program will run only once, because why? This threshold is now false, right? And now I will increase the brightness to 300, and you'll see that, okay, now threshold is set to true. Also program ran and it set shades to 0. But even now, if this value changes, if it changes to 400 or to 500, the program will not run again, because the threshold value first needs to change to false, and then when it will change back to true again, it will run the program. If you want to run the program every time that this threshold is activated, so you just put here allow retrigger, and that will mean that even if the threshold value didn't go to false and then back to true, it will trigger the program. So if you would just send true value to this analog threshold value, it will always retrigger. But if you don't want to do, if you don't want that, you can just here click unclick allow retrigger. And in this case, it will only run once, and then the threshold value needs to be false before it goes back to true in order to run the program again. I hope that you understand this explanation. If you didn't, we can also prepare a session, and we can show you more in details this kind of for a specific task that you need. So there is an interesting question from Ricardo. On counter logs, we get total last 24 hours, today count, and so on. And he would like to save yesterday values. Save them where? Let's see how we could do this. There is an option to save them into another analog log, but we are also developing something like a database log where you would be able to save string or text or something like this, and it will be more useful then. But just the principle how you would do this is, let's say you would have analog log, you would need counter log, and in this counter log you would create a program, and this program would you would also need another double value. So this would be last 24 hours count, let's say. And we would here set the value of last 24 hours to actually the value of counter log last 24 hours. Okay, so we will save this value to this value, and this value will be linked to analog log. And this program would be, you would need to create a schedule, and here you would say a function save last 24 hours value every day at let's say okay. So what this would do is this program would run every day at 23 hours at almost midnight, and it would save the value from counter log last 24 hours to this value, and this value would be written here then in the analog log. So that's a workaround how to do something like that. But as I said, we are working hard on developing additional options, especially for this logging data, and also for, let's say, access control and something like this, where you need to write something to the log. Basically, you could also then use this feature to save specific values or strings or integers or doubles to the log, but that's coming in the future updates. Okay, so if there is any other question, we can go through. Otherwise, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I would apologize for all the troubles that we had, and I wish you to stay healthy and stay at home so we can be back on tracks like it was before as soon as possible. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.